We are now in Genesis 10 this morning. Genesis 10. Folks, if I've been telling you, as I've been telling you, most people in our world today are walking around in a dream state. They're not aware of what really is going on in our world. We're just kind of heads down, heads in the sand, as it were. We're not really catching on to the true events that are occurring in our world today, and they are absolutely unprecedented. We live in one of the most exciting, interesting, troubling times in the history of the world. And I know that sounds like I'm exaggerating, because I didn't live through World War I or World War II. I'm a boomer. I was born right after World War II. But I'm just telling you, it could not have been more alarming, and I'm running out of adjectives, but it could not have been anything compared to what we're now moving into.
Yeah.
Last night, about 10 o'clock, I folded up the computer, put the books down, and started to go to bed, and thought I'll catch some news. So I flipped on the news. I won't tell you what channel. Didn't matter. It's all the same. And I flipped on the news, and you know, my head and my heart, I've been praying and dealing with the beginnings of World War III, which I think we've already started World War III. Unrest in our cities, the imminent collapse of our world's economy. I've been reading about Greece and probably Ireland and maybe some other countries in Europe that are bankrupt and just ready to fold and pulling out of the European Union. And you know, I'm scared and all this going on. And then I switched on the 10 o'clock news, and here's what I got. Bruce Jenner was in a car wreck this week. I hope he didn't run his pantyhose, don't you? And you know, I got to thinking, who really cares? And then I was reading down, listening to the news, and the next thing was that the announcer was saying, everybody's coming to the big boat show in Springfield, Missouri, because the economy is vastly improving, and many, many people are thinking about buying luxury items again. I'm thinking, what planet are you on? Where have you been? I mean, you know, we might have a little more jingle in our pockets because gas is a little cheaper, and we might be saving, what, $50 a week or something, but the world economy is in good shape? I don't think so. And then, to top it off, this was the big news stuff of the night. Now, don't forget to send your girlfriend or your wife roses this week. I'm thinking, and I turned my TV on for this? Okay. Now, I'm not complaining. I'm just trying to tell you that we're not getting the news. I mean, when you watch the news, you have no idea. If that's all you watch is TV news, you have no idea what's going on in the world. Folks, it's a mess. Let me talk to you just now and sort of quickly bring you up to speed on where we are in this study. We're dealing with what I've titled this sermon series, The Great Deception. And I'm telling you, we have been terribly, terribly deceived. And not only have we been, but we are right now being duped every day. We're being lied to. A great, huge conspiracy is unfolding all around us, and we're a big part of it. Let me talk about that. I start out by preaching and telling you that churchianity, and I use that word instead of Christianity, I believe churchianity has truly failed. I think we have literally failed. What we've been doing in churches, how we've been practicing our faith. We may do real good in the buildings. We may have a lot better PA systems and better choirs and worship groups, and we may have a lot more PowerPoints and beautiful videos, but what's happening, we're not taking it out into the street, into our lives, and putting it to work. We're getting better at having services, but we're not getting better at serving the world and serving the Lord. I believe that the devil, Lucifer, is leading a worldwide deception that has been thousands of years in the making, but now is coming to a linchpin, choke point. I believe we're coming close to the time when things are beginning to really reveal what he's been setting in motion all these years. His trap has been set, and I'm afraid many of us have stepped into the trap, and it's about ready to spring on us. That's what we've been talking about. We read in Matthew 24 this phrase. It said, "As it was in the days of Noah, so will it be, or shall it be, in the days of the coming of the Son of Man." And I'm trying to get that straight because I've read it out of so many different translations. One has an also, but anyway, you get the point.
Yes.
As it was, so will it be. And Jesus said, He told this to His close disciples. He had this intimate briefing with these 3 or 4 of His closest intimate friends, and He told them what it was going to be like. They wrote it down for us today. The first thing we talked about as we went through this, or one of the first things, was population explosion. And by the way, I have to apologize. I truly made a horrible error. I said the population of the planet was 9 billion. It's not 9 billion. The accurate number is 7.28 billion. And I truly blew it, and I apologize. Like Brian Williams, I was also in the helicopter. And as soon as the helicopter landed, I fought in the Civil War. No, seriously, I really blew it. I got it wrong, and I apologize. I never listened to my sermons. But somebody was asking me if it's on the, so I thought I'll jump in and listen to one. And the first thing I heard was me say 9 billion. I thought, oh my goodness. So I apologize. I blew that. I want to be accurate here because I'm dealing in such deep water that if there's any inaccuracies, you can think, well, if he's inaccurate there, he's inaccurate. I've got to tell you that I really blew it, and I ask your forgiveness. We also noticed, besides population explosion, that we have an increase in violence and the lack of love on our planet. And violence is everywhere. ISIS and inter-city racial love is gone. It's being erased from our planet. Our hearts are too angry, too striving for more, too greedy, too lustful. We are so filled with self and self-gratification that we don't have any room left to love. And Jesus told us that one of the signs would be love would be on the down low. Technology and information is exponentially increasing. I showed you simply, many of you are sitting there with iPads and iPhones, and I've got a pad here in front of me, and I can tap in here, and just in about 30 seconds or less, depending on how many of you are on the Wi-Fi, I can get about any information I want in the world. I can have it right here, right now, available. People will come to me and they say, where do I find search? I say, if you got Google, Google it. I mean, because that's the best thing in the world. It's got everything there, but I'm not pushing that. I'm just saying technology and information is exploding. That's one of the things that is part of the prophecy of the final days, and Jesus talked about that. Then the next area is genetic tampering. Genetic tampering. And we've been looking through the fallen angels hybridizing their genetics with human women, crossbreeding between fallen angels and human beings, producing what the Bible called Nephilim, these half creatures that were half man, half angel. And we talked about, we went into great detail on that, of how that all worked out. I don't know if it was lustful and sexual as much as it was technological, but it doesn't matter. They somehow got their genetics, or tampered with genetics, and got human women pregnant. Now you see, a lot of times we think of the people who lived before the flood as dumb cavemen beating each other on the head with rocks. Folks, these were highly, highly technically advanced people. They were angels. They were God's angels. They've been around since the beginning of creation. I mean, they've been here billions of years. These are not dummies. These are people that can do what our science only begins to dream of. They had been doing it for billions of years. So to them, getting a woman creating a child in a woman is not a big deal for them, but they did it. They mixed genetics and began to wipe out, to erase the human genome. They wanted it wiped out. Why? So we would not have a Jesus Christ born in the line of David, so that we wouldn't have, Jesus couldn't be born a pure human if there weren't any more pure humans on the earth. And we talked about how the Bible goes into great detail to connect Noah to Adam, and then connect Noah on it into today to Nimrod. We're going to talk about him. But if you look in the New Testament, it goes into great detail to connect Mary back to Noah. You can read that. I mean, there's whole verses and whole chapters in the Bible that just go begat, 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 begat. Why did God want us to waste all of our ink writing these Bibles? Just tell us all that information. So we'll know Mary was a pure, genetically unmixed human. Amen. And therefore Jesus was a pure man. Amen. You say, wait a minute, I thought he said he was the Son of God. Yeah, he is the Son of God. He's all God and all man. That's right. He's not half-half nothing. He's all one. He's all God. Yeah. So we talked about the mixing of genetics. We talked about new religions that were coming on the earth. And we've seen a rebirth of Satanism and a resurgence of Spiritism and the occult. We're seeing a great explosion in this area. And then we talked about the great conspiracy and how it's the great conspiracy and how, or the great deception, and how it's going to reveal itself into the future. And this is where we all put on our tin hats. And because this is, we're talking about, I believe the Nephilim are still coming to planet Earth. How are they coming? In flying saucers and extraterrestrial visit. 85% of the people in America believe that we're being visited by aliens. You would not believe, I bet you, I don't want to bet, but I guarantee you there's somebody in this room here today that has had a personal experience with it. And I've had some come and talk with me in the past, recently. They have personally been involved in this. And they've been taken out and messed with and whatever. So we've been hidden, but this has been hidden from us, from our government, and from the news and the media. But folks, we're being invaded by this. But here it is. It's part of the great conspiracy, the great deception. How's that work? Here's how it's going to work. One day somebody's going to say to us, an alien's going to say to us, or the Pope's going to say to us. He's going to say, folks, these aliens put us here. God didn't put us here. They did. They came to Earth a long time ago to mine our minerals or whatever. That's the story they're going to tell. And they didn't want to do it themselves, so they found a little primate, in the African rainforest or whatever, and they began to work on his genetics, and they built him up. Pretty soon we had the Cro-Magnon man, the early human. And then you guys worked for us for thousands and thousands of years. Then we left. We went off and we left you here, and you grew up, you developed technology, you got smart, you did all this stuff. And now we've come back. We're going to upgrade you again. And here's the catch, here's the deception. And Jesus and Buddha and Muhammad, they were just one of us. They weren't real. They weren't God. They were just one of us. And they said, and they're going to tell us, and not only that, but we do worship God, and we're going to tell you about him. He's not any God you've ever known about. He's a new kind of God, and really we're the God, but we'll tell you more about it. And we want you to join our religion. And this is the great deception. And I promise you, this world will run into that with open arms, because they'll say, this is what we thought this all the time, that Jesus was a fake, Buddha was a fake, all this, but these are the real deal, and they'll accept it. And that's going to be the great deception. And instead of taking you to heaven, you know where this religion is going to take you? Straight to hell. Yeah. Now, so we tracked Noah. We tracked Noah back to Adam last session. And in chapter 10 of Genesis, we have the genealogy of Noah in the forward direction. And if you want to take time to read it, I don't have the time, and you don't either this morning, but look at chapter 10 there, begin to read it. You'll notice also at this time, we don't want to go into it this morning, but lifespans begin to radically decrease after the flood. They lived an average of 800 years before the flood. Now afterwards we find that the lifespans are decreasing, and they're still decreasing all up until the modern time. So we talked about also, I want to leave that and say that most people are asleep to what's really happening in the world, and we're not aware of the great things that are happening all around us, the great things. We have a front row seat in one of those interesting times to ever be alive on planet Earth. Don't miss this. Sadly, when these things begin to unfold, when the trap snaps and the noose slips, there's going to be a lot of people caught up in the deception. But Jesus did not want His children to be asleep. He said, I want you aware. I want you to be awake and alert so that this day will not come upon you unawares. Now, we're about to meet an individual called the Antichrist. I'm not sure when he's coming. Some are saying he's already here. I don't know that. He had not announced himself, but he could be here already, getting ready to announce himself on the world stage. Let's just say that he could be about here. And I want you to know that he will be archetypically Nimrod. He may even be genetically reborn Nimrod. And if I had another hour, I'd tell you about that. But when our soldiers went into Baghdad in the first Bush war, the first thing they did was they secured the museums. I wonder what they were looking for there. DNA, leftover, I don't know. I'm just telling you, a lot of weird stuff down there. Things that are going on we don't even know about. And if you want to know some of this, read the Defense Department's website. I challenge you, read our United States Defense Department website and look under the DARPA, which is their Advanced Research Project, and you're going to have a head spin when you see what our government is doing. Okay, let's move on. So what do we know here? I started to tell you, Nimrod is going to be the ultimate expression of the Antichrist. The Antichrist is going to be just like him. As it was, so will it be. So let's find out about Nimrod. Let's dig into him about verse 8. We're going to start there, and I'm going to talk about how he was uniquely evil and rebellious before the Lord. There wasn't anybody like him ever before, and we'll look into this. So he's extremely evil, and he's leading the world to rebel against the Lord. Verse 8. Cush begat Nimrod. Cush was a grandson of Noah. Cush begat Nimrod. He began to be a mighty one on the earth. Now the translation of the word mighty one is the word Gibborim. Gibborim. He began to be a Gibborim, and that is what we translate mighty one. But it means more than mighty one. If you want to dig into it, I'll help you. We'll later. But go on to verse 9. He was a mighty hunter before the Lord. Therefore it is said, like Nimrod, the mighty hunter before the Lord. Did you notice 2 times it said before the Lord? He was a mighty hunter before the Lord. And then it says, like Nimrod, the mighty hunter before the Lord. Something happened to Nimrod in midlife. Nimrod was born of the lineage of Noah. He was genetically pure human being. He was born in Noah's bloodline. But he began to be. In midlife, somewhere in his life, he changed. He began to be. Now, there is a lady from Cambridge University who has written a book, and I want to reference some of the things that she said in this book. Her name is Annette Reed, Dr. Annette Reed. And she said, she wrote a book called The Fallen Angels and the History of Judaism and Christianity. She said, the Nephilim, the giants of Genesis 6, are always grouped together with the Gibborim as the progeny or the children of the Watchers and human women. This group of fallen angels that came are called the Watchers in the book of Enoch. And so the Gibborim are always looped together with him. They're always in that same group. In other words, they're the same thing as these Nephilim, these creatures that were born from half angel, half human beings. Now, in the third part of the text, it says that the change to Nimrod started while he was on earth. Now, let me read this to you in a very good way to understand it. Normal country English, you would say, and Nimrod began to change genetically, becoming a Gibborim, the offspring of the Watchers on the earth. Now, 2 times, it says in that verse, that he did this before the Lord. And every time I've read it, all my life, I thought, when it comes to this before the Lord, he did it in the presence of the Lord, like he was, had the blessing of God on him. And he did this before the Lord. Well, no, that when the original language, it meant in God's face he did this. And I did this in your face. And I'm going to do this, and you can see it, but whatever you want to do, tough, go to Lowe's and buy a ladder and get over it. I'm going to do this in your face before the Lord. It's not a positive thing, it's a very negative thing. So I believe that this change was not forced on him. I think it came on him by his own will. Before the Lord. I want you to notice this, that this change came on Nimrod later in his life. And the same sort of thing kind of happened to me too. I was going along just living my normal life, and in my 40s I began to be bald. I began to be. Some people go through their life and they began to be diabetics, or they began to be some kind of autoimmune disease. Something happened to him later on in his life, but it was before the Lord. Now it says he was a mighty hunter before the Lord. Genesis tells us that Nimrod was this mighty hunter. And I think he was a mighty hunter. In the ancient days, the kings, their biggest job, if you were going to be a king, the first thing you had to do was to clear the wild animals away from your people. You couldn't have a wolf or a bear or something come in, kill the children. And so the first hunters in the ancient world, and even in the medieval time, the king's big job was to be hunters and to keep the wild animals back. And I think Nimrod was a great hunter, but also I think he hunted more than wild animals. I think he hunted men. Now what does that mean? Now this is going to take a little while to explain. God said to Noah and to his children, spread out over the planet. Remember that? Populate the whole thing. Don't stay here. Don't bunch up. Spread out. So Nimrod comes on the scene and he says, no, we're not going to do that. Your face. We're not going to do that before the Lord. He said, we're going to stay here and we're going to build cities, whatever. But I think some of Noah's grandchildren wanted to obey the Lord. And so they began to peel off and go off. I think Nimrod went and found them and brought them back. I think he was a mighty hunter before the Lord. And he sought folks and brought them back. Now, we can all see then that Nimrod could be the original Antichrist, and he'll be a lot like him. In the days of the second coming, there will be a very active movement upon the earth of someone doing the very same things Nimrod did. Let's see some of the more things that he did. The second thing we notice in verse 10, he invested his life creating cities. Nimrod devoted himself to building cities. In fact, in God's face. And God said, don't do that. Spread out. Nimrod said, let's read what he said. Verse 10. At the beginning of his kingdom was Babel, Erech, Akkad, and Calneh in the land of Shinar. From that land he went to Assyria and built Nineveh, Rehoboth, Ir, Calah, and Rezin between Nineveh and Calah, and that is the principal city. So Nimrod was a city builder. His real estate that he built on was the land between the Tigris and the Euphrates River, which we've all been taught was the cradle of civilization. That's where Nimrod built his cities, and not just one. He built Babel, of course, but he built other cities, lots of them. Nimrod started them. Now, what he did was, this was against God's directive. God said, spread. He said, no, unify. Now, this is very important. God said, spread out. He said, no, we're going to stay together. We're going to become one. Instead of diversifying, we're going to become one. That's very important as you look at what's going to happen in our world today. I believe today we are about to see a whole new outbreak of oneness. One government, one economy, one religion. Amen. You with me? Amen. So what Nimrod did was, instead of diversifying, did you know God loves diversity? Are you aware of that? Look how many silly people he made. We're all different, aren't we? And everything's so different. But somehow Satan doesn't want us to exact our uniqueness. He wants us to all come out of the same cookie cutter so he can control us and control the vision of God in us. He's going to establish a kingdom that will oppose God. His new cities that he's not going to build cities in the future. Lucifer's not about building cities, but he's about building policy and law that will rob you of your freedom, that will rob you of your diversity, your ability to do your thing. He's going to try to gather everybody, as I said, into one economy, one government, and one faith. And that's his purpose. And everything you see happening in our world today is simply setting us up to move into one government, one religion, and one faith. Amen. It's coming quickly. Do you realize today that in our world, and you're not going to hear this on the news, but in our world today, 1% of the world's population own 99% of its wealth. Are you aware of that? Anybody here? I want to loan if I could talk to you. So, are you a 1%er here this morning? I want to talk. No, I don't want to talk to you. These people are developing a new, and the Antichrist is right behind this. They're developing a new feudal system, very much like medieval Europe. In the feudal system, you have your elite kings and nobles or whatever, and these elite few, and they are then supported by the masses, by everyone else, and they will take care of us, they will feed us, they'll give us social securities, and they'll give us medical help. See where we're going? They'll teach our children, they'll take care of everything we need. All we have to do is just support and worship and love them. And not have any freedom or choice. That's what's coming, and that's where the devil's trying to take us today. In this Illuminati group, is another name that they're called. Every new law that passes erodes more and more of our freedom. That's why we have to be careful in our world that we not increase our tax loads and increase the amount of laws, because every one of them is eroding us. That sounded political, didn't it? I'm sorry. No, I'm not. Deal with it. Now, this is also happening. There's a worldwide spirit of change in the Nimrod's day. Huge change. And today, we're seeing a lot of that happen too. Population centers were popping up. People longed for community and unity. They didn't want to be out on the pioneer edge. I am of pioneer stock. My people came here in wagons and drawn by horses, and lived lived out of those wagons, and came through the Kentucky and Tennessee, and came down to the Ozarks and settled in here and built log cabins by springs. That's my people. They came here in 1833, and that's when they settled on right here in Walnut Grove area. And so I understand the pioneer mindset, and I kind of like it. I like being alone. But nevertheless, mankind in general prefers to live by Walmart and McDonald's. Okay, and that's okay. It's just and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that we kind of tend to want to group up. Okay. So here we are, and God said, move out, and they said, no, we want cities. Let's read verse 11. I'm sorry, chapter 11. Go to chapter 11. Now the whole earth had one language. What are we talking about? After the flood, before the Tower of Babel. In that time, okay? The time Jesus was talking about. He said, and the whole earth had one language and one speech. And it came to pass, as they journeyed from the east, that they found a plain in the land of Shinar. That's the Mesopotamian between the rivers. And they dwelt there. Verse 3. Then they said to one another, come, let's make bricks and bake them thoroughly. They had bricks for stone, and they had asphalt for mortar. And they said, come, let's build ourselves a city and a tower whose top is in the heavens. And let's make a name for ourselves, lest we be scattered abroad over the face of the whole earth. New technologies were being developed. You say, what new technology? What are you talking about? Bricks. Bricks. They hadn't used bricks before. Never had they used bricks. Okay. They started using bricks. And what they do, bricks were a lot easier than the old stones that they had to quarry from the quarries and move these massive stones out to build with. Now they could make little uniform bricks. That was the new technology in the Tower of Babel. And they built bricks and they baked them in kilns. They made out of mud and straw or whatever. And then they baked them and they were hard, and then they put them together with asphalt. They would mortar them in with asphalt. Where did they get asphalt? In the Middle East, where all the oil is, right? It was bubbling up out of the ground in pools, and they would use the asphalt to build their buildings with. And it was a great technology, and the buildings, you could build huge buildings, and these kiln-fired bricks could withstand fire and water. Why would they be afraid of fire or water? Because they just came from a flood. And Nimrod was a little bit aggravated at God, I think, for killing off his ancestors. And he tried to build a building so that they could oppose the Lord. New technologies, make bricks. And so they baked their bricks. So we live in a day today that is exploding technologically. Amen? I mean, isn't it crazy? I mean, how many of you bought a phone lately and by the time you got home, it was outdated? Or, that's just the world we live in. As it was, so will it be. Okay, so as long as we're communicating. Now let's talk about human pride. Wow, human pride. Nothing new about that, is there? But do you realize how much of a prideful, hubris world we live in today? We're in a world that is so full of self, so egotistical. We are amazingly power-hungry. And anyway, let's read about it. Pride is found all over this rebellion in the Nimrod's day. I want to just read to you a little bit of this and see if you can pick up any of the pride in this, would you? Listen, notice how often, let us make bricks, let us build, let us make a name for ourselves, lest we, holy smokes. This is saturated with self and pride and hubris, ego. I think it's a definition of our modern world today. Here's what we say today in our world. Hey, we got a little problem. We got a problem. Don't worry about it. Our scientists will get together and they'll fix it. There's no problem. Our scientists can solve anything. You're sick, they'll invent a vaccine. Let's give you a shot. You want to grow hair? We'll make a potion to grow hair. I mean, whatever you want, our science will fix it. I'm waiting for that fat pill, aren't you? That David was talking about, accused us of. So when Jesus returns, people will be in open rebellion to His will. Have you ever seen a time when people are more open in their rebellion against God publicly? In my day, if you were mad at God, you didn't tell anybody. You kept it to yourself. Today they write articles and walk in parades and shake their fist at God and are proud to be atheists and proud to be this and that. Open rebellion. Cities will be growing, and with all the societal problems that go along with it, that will happen. There's going to be, as I talk about, the new technologies and et cetera, et cetera. Let's take this to a conclusion. Here's what I want you to know. The Lord is aware of how we live. God knows what's going on. He's not asleep. He who watches over Israel neither sleeps nor slumbers. God's aware of our life. He's aware of our culture. He's aware of what's going on in our world. He's aware. Don't worry about it. God's watching. Now, as we read this story of Nimrod, we get an amazing statement from God Himself. God says something about human ingenuity and the ability to create technology. He said, indeed, in verse 6, indeed the people are one and they shall have one language. Here it is. And this is what they begin to do. Now nothing that they propose to do will be withheld from them. In other words, God said, you people, I created you brilliant with technology. Whatever you want to do, you could do it. You want to create a cure for cancer? You'll do it. You want to go to the moon? You'll go to the moon. You want to, pick out a category. He said, whatever you guys want to do, you'll do it. So it's an interesting thing that God says that about us. And now we're watching all that technology come to the foreground and watch it impact our lives. And now, but you can be sure, and write this down. Don't ever forget it. When God says it's enough, it will be enough. When God says it's done, it'll be done. Let's read verse 7. Come, let's go down there and confuse their language, that they may not understand one another's speech. Have you ever looked at the word Babel and wondered what that means? If you're an English teacher here, I'm going to impress you. It's an onomatopoeia. Okay? Babel. It is a word, I don't know how to define it, but it'd be like this. It is a word that sounds like it's written. It's like babble, 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 babble. Whenever their languages were confused, Joe was talking to Mike, and immediately Mike said, Joe, would you hand me a hammer? And Mike heard babble, 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 babble. Okay, so they called it Babylon, Babel. You get the point. So God came down and did what was necessary. Listen to me very carefully. As it was in the days of Noah, so will it be. He's going to do what needs to be done. This world is out of control, but He's going to come and fix it one day and judge it. Come, let's go down. You know what my prayer is? Every day, almost every moment of every day, my prayer is this. Hurry up. Hurry up. Come on. That's my prayer. Join me in that prayer. And we're done now. Let's pray that the Lord intervenes. So the Lord scattered them abroad from there over the face of all the earth. And they ceased building the city. Therefore, it's called Babel. Babel, Babel, Babel. Because there the Lord confused the language of all the earth. And from there the Lord scattered them abroad over the face of all the earth. Who had the last word? God had the last word. Who's going to have the last word on planet Earth? Who's going to have the last word over your life? God's going to have the last word. Listen to me. God's going to get done what He wants to get done. I've said this often. And if the Cowboy Church doesn't do it, He'll get another one and start it down the road here, and He'll get it done. See, don't think you're the only thing God's got. Don't think you're special in that. God cannot do without you. He can. But He will use you if you'll humble yourself and submit yourself to Him and follow Him and let Him use you. He'll use you. But if you don't do it and you say, in your face, God, well, okay. Like you're a big threat to me. Like Nimrod was a threat to climb up into heaven and whip God. Hello. That'd be like a paper shirt and a bear fight, wouldn't it? But that's what he was trying to do. God says, oh boy, here we go. Submit yourself to the Lord. Submit yourself to the Lord. Humble yourself before the Lord. Again, if I wasn't a Christian, if I did not know the Lord, if I hadn't been saved, born again, I would not let another minute go by till I got my heart right with God. I would come to God with brokenness. I would ask for sins to be forgiven and repent, because we live in some of the craziest days ever. We're getting close to the end. Get right with God. Get your family right with God. Tell your children and your grandchildren. Spread the word. Don't let them be genetically messed with. Don't let them believe some cockamamie story about that aliens created us. Don't let them tell them, hey, no, that's from the hell. That's the devil's conspiracy. Don't listen to it. Let's bring people into the kingdom. Why has God not already come back? What's He waiting on? He's waiting on you to get your heart right. He's waiting on your children and your grandchildren. I don't know how long He's going to wait, but He's waiting because He wants to get everybody in the boat that He can. In the church, in the family. He's waiting. I don't know how long His patience will last. Folks, we're standing on the edge of something crazy. The dominoes are ready to fall. Greece dropped out of the European Union. We talked about this. Ireland's about ready to. I heard of other countries. Europe is in chaos. The Islamists are taking over. And when Europe goes, how long will it be before America follows? See, our economies are all in the same bank. Did you know that? I mean, they may call theirs a euro and we call ours a dollar, but it's all in the same bank. So I'm just telling you, get ready. If you have any control over your finances, get ready financially. I'm not selling you anything. I don't care what you do. I'm just telling you, get ready. Get ready. Get your heart right, Lord. Get your family right with the Lord. Get your home ready for the Lord for this day. We live in a scary time. Get ready. Get ready. Father,